So we got to talk about the Barr summary, don't we?
Oh, you want to?
We have to. How can we not talk about that?
Yeah.
Are you guys trying to avoid that topic?
Oh,
I was trying not to do hours of politics, but I love politics talk. I just didn't want to be the guilty guy.
You're muted, Taylor. You're muted. Just so you know.
Thank you. I just got back from the bathroom. What were you talking about?
He said he wanted to talk about the Barr summary, Barr being the attorney general who has the Mueller report.
Yes.
Well, Taylor may know, but the listeners might not know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's front page news.
What about it?
They're
we shouldn't
American,
spend too much time on
it.
Yeah, shouldn't spend too much time. I agree with Woody there, but yeah, we can talk about it.
Dude. So I feel like if you're not arguing on the side of like openness and transparency, it's difficult to argue that you're on the side of the right. Barr is a White House appointed attorney general, and he was appointed, in this case anyway, he was appointed mostly because he was very critical of the Mueller investigation in the first place, just like the guy before him, Whitaker, was appointed because he had an idea on how to shut it down. He said he would defund it. That's how Trump is picking his attorney generals. If you don't think that, you're probably
But nobody defunded it or shut it down.
That's how Trump is picking his attorney generals. He's finding people who are critical of the Mueller investigation. And I don't know what they did. But then he wrote...
Specifically, Barr wrote this 17-page memo, basically to the Department of Justice, basically laying out his view of the law, which is that a president can't obstruct justice. That is his point of view, is that because he's president, he literally can't obstruct
Mueller
justice.
didn't even recommend charges for obstruction or collusion.
Well,
so therein lies my part of it. I would like to know what Mueller wrote in this thing, right? There's a 4-page summary on this thing, and all we have is Barr's interpretation or Barr's summary of the Mueller report. I'd like to see the Mueller report.
Yeah, I'm sure they will release it at some point, but undoubtedly there are concurrent legal issues that are named in that report. Like they didn't just stop at looking at Russian shit. They looked all over the place. My guess would be Trump will get hit either during or after his presidencies for some financial shit, because I feel like you could pour into any real estate billionaire's financial records and find skeevy shit, because frankly, all billionaires do a bunch of fucking skeevy shit. Remember a couple years ago when those Panama, or not even a couple years ago, when the Panama Papers came out, and it basically showed not just rich politicians, these actors, these financiers, all of these rich elite people were hiding shit in Panama and in other places, and it all got spilled. But it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. We're not going to cover this a ton on the news because we're all in the same elite club. We do this, and then we delineate whatever information we choose to give to you.
I think you're kind of downplaying the Trump's utter lack of scruples or morals when it comes to how he conducts himself in his business life, as is evidenced by decades.
I don't think he's necessarily ethical in his business life, but
the way that you said it was every billionaire would be.
But they all fucking do, dude. They do. Amazon's not paying taxes. So many of these billionaires are escaping through things. But we're talking about the Mueller thing. My whole point with the Mueller thing is, a few months ago, BuzzFeed reported a bombshell about the Mueller investigation, and within a day, the Mueller team had come out with a representative and said, nope, wrong. And I'm now told to believe that Barr would summarize the entire report and present it. And the Mueller team's going to be quiet. So they have the balls to go up against BuzzFeed.
The New York Times came out.
Yeah,
go ahead, Hutch. I think you're about to say what I am.
Funny you mentioned that, though, because the New York Times came out with a story last night where they laid out that associates of people that worked on Mueller's team.
I saw that. More vague sources, more this guy says, guy says, the same structure of news story we've gotten for years. These same people have been breathlessly saying, this happened.
Hold on, let me just, do you think that the New York Times is just making up sources, or do you think that they would run a story like this if they thought that their sourcing was thin?
Yeah, I definitely think they would, because John Brennan has been providing false information to CNN, MSNBC, Fox, New York Times, WashPo for years now. And then he goes, after saying with assurance like there is something going on. Former head of the CIA, his word carries a lot of weight. He was going out there doing that, and then now when it comes out and Mueller doesn't recommend any charges, he says, I must have gotten some bad information. And it's like, no, these people are deceiving you. They're lying. Like, I don't trust the mainstream
it wasn't
media.
just, but it wasn't just, okay. But it wasn't just the New York Times. It was Washington Post and NBC also ran stories today that corroborated the New York Times stories. They went through their own sources and found very similar things. It wasn't just, so
They
what was
haven't
laid
named
out.
any sources.
So that doesn't matter. People run with anonymous sources all the time. No, it doesn't.
And where has anonymous sources gotten us? To a 3-year
Plenty of solid reporting has been done all throughout the decades of the
Watergate
existence
comes to mind.
based on anonymous sources. It is a staple of journalism is anonymous sources. I'm not saying that it wouldn't be more convincing to a reader if it was like somebody standing up, raising their hand, and then saying, "This is what I saw," but to throw the entire concept of anonymous sources
not the concept
as a reason to
discredit within the context of this story, which has been proven. And I mean, this is another frustrating thing because I think Kyle and I have kind of been of the opinion of, I don't think this happened, let's see what the report says. Like, I think I more than Kyle was on the side of, I don't think Trump colluded, I don't think any of this happened. And people all throughout the mainstream media, watch Rachel Maddow for 30 seconds over the past 3 years, all these people have been breathlessly saying, this happened, he colluded, this, that, and the other thing. Don Jr. in his meeting, this and that. Oh, he colluded with WikiLeaks and all these things. Like, all of this has been said.
Don Jr. in his meeting really bothers me.
Hold on, but all of this has been said. All of this has been said. No scruples from the mainstream media. And these anonymous sources, they had no problem saying collusion.
It happened
really
when the
happened.
Russians reached out to Don Jr. and said, "We have dirt on Hillary Clinton." He said, "I love it." Right? He didn't say, "Oh my gosh, I need to go to the FBI or CIA." He didn't say, "No, we don't work with the Russians to get dirt on our political opponents." He didn't say that. What he said was, "I love it. Let's meet at Trump headquarters."
And Mueller didn't recommend any charges for any of these things.
Okay, so wait a second.
I want to see what Mueller did say.
I do too.
None of us have seen the report, so it's very hard to have a conversation about it. All we've seen is a 4-page summary from Barr. But what the reporting in the New York Times revealed is that the Mueller team actually provided their own summary at the end of each section. And this was a comprehensive, according to reporting, 400-page report with another thousands of pages of documentary underlying evidence.
So we're on the same page. I'm totally in favor of full transparency and them releasing it.
Right, but let me just finish real quick. On the topic of conspiracy, what Mueller said is that he and his team could not establish a conspiracy between the Trump campaign and the Russians that showed that the Trump campaign assisted the Russians in their efforts to disrupt our election or interfere with our election with a two-pronged attack with the social media troll farms, mass misinformation targeted at sensitive swing states and everybody else broadly. And then also the hacking of the DNC emails and the Podesta emails. I don't think anyone was alleging that Donald Trump or anyone on his team literally helped the Russians do
Paul
those
Manafort
things.
gave his polling data to the Russians.
Right. The question of collusion, it's not even a question. It happened. Whether or not it rises to the level of criminality in a sense that that Mueller proved beyond a reasonable doubt that there was a conspiracy between the two
How can
parties.
You just say he colluded with Russia to influence the election? Like,
because Manafort colluded with Russia, Don Jr. colluded with Russia.
But the word collude, like, you're using it so loosely. What did he do? Did Don Jr. get valuable information that he then used to take down the Hillary campaign?
What I call
or did Hillary just not campaign at all?
Collusion.
Hillary just not at all campaign in the Rust Belt?
So just let me answer your question, though, because it's not just that however the way that you laid out, the fact that he took that meeting instead of going to the FBI, the fact that he knew that the Russians either had dirt on Hillary or were in the process of trying to get that dirt on Hillary, and then didn't go to the FBI to report it to them, is a form of collusion in the sense that it's secret. He took a secret meeting and then he lied about it, and then his father dictated a memo to give to the press explaining that meeting was about Russian adoptions. It was just an overt lie. And all of this was happening while Donald Trump was pursuing a Trump Tower deal in Moscow that could have potentially been the most lucrative real estate deal of his entire career.
That he was also lying about.
Hundreds of millions of dollars, while he was also lying to the public about that. And then like a short time after that meeting with Don Jr., and you can choose to believe that Don Jr. didn't tell his dad about this meeting, which I find laughable. Shortly after that, Donald Trump gets on TV, asks the Russians to hack Hillary, and what do they try to do literally that day? But they tried to hack her specific email situation.
WikiLeaks already had all her shit. Like they were doing a slow leak time.
That didn't start until October. We're talking about July. This was like during the time of the Republican convention. So and then Manafort obviously showing up and then sharing polling data that they had, like, look, we think that these states here, which the Democrats consider a lock, we think they're actually a little bit more sensitive. Here's our polling data, and here's basically a roadmap or like a target list for you guys to target these people.
If there is a huge mound of evidence, if all of this and more was available to Mueller, and he neither recommended charges for any kind of collusion or any kind of obstruction. And so it's annoying. Well, hold on. It's annoying to be on the side of hearing people not critically saying for years, literally years. This has been the biggest story of the past 3 years. And hearing media figures, it is a big story. Hearing media influencers, social people, talking heads, all of them uncritically saying this happened, without the requisite evidence. And then the Mueller report summary comes out, and it's, we need to wait. We need to wait. Suddenly, everything we've been saying,
the things that he's talking,
we need more evidence.
Taylor, let me respond to that. The things that he's talking about are agreed upon by both sides, right? There is no question that Donald Trump Jr. took that meeting, that Donald Trump Sr. dictated the letter. There's no question that Manafort released the polling data to the Russians. There's no question that Donald Trump got in front of the reporters and said, if you hack this, if you find these emails, you'll be richly reported. There's no question that afterwards, when they said, are you joking? He said, no, I'm not joking. I'm serious. I want you to do this. These things are all out there and agreed upon by both sides. It is weird to me, as a non-attorney, why this isn't conspiracy. But apparently it's not.
Well, you have to prove it. You have to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. And here's the difference between the conspiracy side of it. Collusion isn't even a legal term. We're talking about conspiracy. There's a difference between how Mueller approached the conspiracy side of his investigation, the Trump-Russia connection, and the obstruction. And I think you're failing to recognize the difference in how he approached it. And I think you're totally mischaracterizing what happened. What he said was, we can't establish a connection, therefore I can't recommend charges for conspiracy. What he said with obstruction was totally different. That is not what he said. Normally, a prosecutor will recommend either charges or no charges. He decided to leave that basically up to, he himself didn't want to be the one to solely dictate the precedent that this would set. And what he did was he laid out evidence in his report that we still haven't seen yet, according to Barr's own summary, that did lay out evidence of a crime that happened. And he said, I'm not going to make any recommendation, presumably punting that to either Barr or Congress. The Congress are the ones that get to decide at that point whether or not it rises to the level of an impeachable offense. So I think you really need to take. I think you really need to take into consideration that Mueller did not say, "I'm not bringing charges of obstruction because I couldn't establish that it happened." What he said is, "I'm not even going to make a decision." And then Barr stepped in and, surprising no one, said the president didn't obstruct justice because this very person straight up already sent this lengthy memo saying that a president can't obstruct justice. So
it's this
no
moving
surprise to anyone that he didn't recommend charges there, and it's going to be really interesting.
It came as a surprise to the entire mainstream media. Rachel Maddow cried. Huge numbers of people were upset by this. Like, I don't like this memory holding and pretending that all of these people weren't saying the whole time.
I don't feel like
I'm saying that.
I just didn't actually hear your word. What in pretending?
Memory holding.
Okay.
What the media will do when they get something wrong, or just an individual person will do when they get something wrong, where they try and take something and they just memory hole it. They just don't think about that anymore. Don't think about it. They've been saying for years, It's been the biggest story. This happened. This happened. Mueller is coming for you. People have like fucking avatars. Like Mueller was a hero for tons of people. He's coming for you. When he releases this, Donald Trump is fucking done. And then now he releases it, and the goalposts shift once again. Now it's the SDNY that's going to do it. Like it. Is it? I don't honestly like.
Can I jump in? I want to go next.
Yeah. Go for it, Woody.
So I try to put it on the other side and see if I like how I would feel about it. And it's like, how would it be if Ken Starr ran a really honest campaign for a long time, kept no leaks, no nothing, mouth closed, the whole thing, and then Ken Starr released his report to Janet Reno, who summarized it in a day or two and said Clinton's innocent. Yeah. You know, I don't think that the red team would see that and go, oh, well, shucks, I guess I was wrong this whole time. Janet Reno, who, by the way, in a hypothetical situation, was just hired because she was critical of Ken Starr. She said it's fine. So
I'm not even, like, I used to be more pro-Trump. I'm not even on Trump's team at this point. Like, I think he's done a pretty shit job. What has he passed other than giving billionaires tax cuts and huge corporations tax cuts? Like, I'm not a fan of him at this point, but but that
I hear you. Yeah, they're saying to wrap up politics in the conversation. It's good.
Well, I just think the first hour was politics, and we've been doing politics for a while. I mean, we can do it. We can do a whole
politics for an hour. I don't really talk politics for an hour.
It probably wasn't an hour. It's probably like 40 minutes, but I just don't want to get too much. But anyway, like, I hope they release the entire thing and it's all out there.
Well, the House Judiciary Committee just voted to give Nadler the authorization to subpoena the full report, but there's fucking no way that Barr is going to do that without putting up a fight first.
I'd like to see the full report. I feel like I've been waiting forever to wait until the facts were out there, and I still haven't gotten the facts. Like that's why I'm not saying anything through this whole conversation that you guys are having. It's because we still haven't gotten any of the final findings.
I don't see this. I don't understand that because there are so many established facts already right now, right in front of you. I don't know how that couldn't alarm some people, because it just confuses me, because everything that I said about and what he said about Manafort and Don Jr. and Stone and WikiLeaks and the entire Russian operation, that's another thing that's left out, is that he left, Mueller also detailed a really extensive and sophisticated operation that many people, including yourself, Taylor, were highly skeptical of in the very beginning when the media was reporting that there was an active campaign going on by the Russians. You were one of the people that I remember the last time I was on here, you kind of scoffed at the idea of it happening. And you asked me what was my evidence? I said, I saw, just go in social media and scroll through the Trump trend and you can see.
It's not that I don't think that it happened. It's that I think that the influence of it has been largely overstated. They spent, they had their troll farms and everything. They spent maybe $20,000 on Facebook ads. The Clinton campaign and the Trump campaign, the Clinton campaign more. They spent tens of millions on social media. The Trump campaign spent millions on social media. And
that's not
they
the measure
had bots.
Of what they did. They had bots. They had, astroturfing. They had.
Well, I think it was 1 in 5 of those bots was pro Clinton. He was trying to create a fucking horrible environment in this country where people are at each other's throats.
Here we are.
And he succeeded.
One of the goals was
see my Facebook feed. I'm sorry.
Yeah, all those boomers. Yeah.
One of the goals was to sow discord in the American public and disrupt the conversation. But they very explicitly had a goal of propping up Donald Trump and denigrating Hillary Clinton, with the secondary goal of sowing discord. They probably assumed, like most everybody else did at some point, that he wasn't going to win, and they were going to throw so much shit at Hillary that it would have totally invalidated any mandate that she might have had as soon as she took office.
Trump's camp, Trump as a president has done a ton of things that aren't helpful for Russia.
Well, Putin himself, Putin literally himself said, "Of course, I prefer Trump be president." So
definitely. I would no doubt that, because she's way more hawkish.
Probably is. Yeah,
she wanted to impose a no-fly zone in Syria.
Well, I mean,
Trump's only hawkish verbally. He doesn't actually.
Well, he's also still he gets credit for being anti-war a little bit, but he doesn't actually do shit. Like I said earlier, he'll tweet about how he's going to get us out of Syria, and then he does fucking.
He tweets
nothing.
Both ways. Yeah, it's hard to gauge where he stands by his tweets, right? Because he'll tweet my big red button's better than North Korea's big red button, right? That's pretty hawkish, but he didn't press it. So
I feel like we're all like, I don't know. I'm just so like cynical about all of it now that none of these people, they seemingly have the power to get us out of these wars and to stop foreign intervention. Like Trump ran on like, get us out of these places where nothing's getting done. And then now he's got a lot of his advisors being like in his ear, well, you got to go to Venezuela. You got to go to Venezuela and intervene there. What's going to happen? Oh, there's a perfectly good region that you could destabilize even further. Like that's my biggest thing now.
Too,
in Iran, trying to get us to invade Iran and stuff. It serves no interest of the American people.
Trump's negotiating style is different than presidents past, and I don't want to come on like hating on the guy because it's just different. But he lies. He blusters. He blusters is a better way to say it. You know, he negotiates like a goose charging. He doesn't want to fight. A goose doesn't want to fight a bull, but you know he goes up against it like he does want to. Trump does that all the time. He told Mexico that we were going to close down the border this week. Now he says, maybe a year. He just delayed it by a year. That was a goose attack, which is to say not attacking, just pretending it wanted to.
Like, and that's what I hate about all these.
I'm agreeing, yeah.
All these neocon like bootlickers where he'll say something like, we got to take care of Venezuela. And then suddenly he's back in the good graces of the Ben Shapiros and the Bill Kristols and the John Podhoritzes and all the neoconservatives. And it's like, it's just frustrating.
His words don't carry the same weight that like previous presidents do. All the previous presidents, because he just says things that he doesn't follow through on more so than other presidents did.
Like ludicrous stuff too, like really, really ludicrous.
Some of it. So the little Trump thing, it boggles my mind how he doesn't get in like more trouble for stuff. Remember when he promised middle class tax cuts like a week before the midterms, and everyone was like, Congress isn't even in session. Like how is that even a thing? He didn't care. And then tomorrow, did I say that? Weird. And like he does
and
that.
Even then, like those tax cuts, like sure, it gave the middle class like some crumbs. But it was really just
these were tax cuts that didn't happen. This is right before the midterms.
This
he
was
promised
a totally new one.
a 10% tax cut. He promised a 10% tax cut before the election. So he had like it was actually 11 days. I know what it was. It was 11 days to follow through on another tax cut. And all the Republicans were like, dude, we haven't even started on this. Like, this is not a thing. Yeah. And it was just a thing just a lie he put out there to get votes.
I may be wrong about a lot of shit. Like I really do try and adapt my view. That's why I'm not nearly as pro-Trump. I'm not pro-Trump at all anymore at this point. Like I just see him as I want to believe he'll get us out of these wars, but I don't know.
There's a bunch of things I like. I like his.
We're going to be in these wars for the rest of our lives.
It's so fucking ridiculous, though.
It's never going to end.
Didn't Jared pass something good on jail? Like, didn't he do some sort of jail reform?
They did the First Step Act, and it was a good first step. Yeah.
I'm not against. I like the things he does that I like.
Yeah, sure.
He banned my bump stock, Dick.
You had a bump stock?
I used to. I think
that was so funny. Like for 8 years, people were like, "Obama's taking our guns," and then Trump passes more gun control than Obama did in 8 years with the bump stock thing, and the same people are like, "Yeah, I guess I could see the point."
Hutch, this is a big deal too, because typically when they pass a gun ban, they pass the sale of that thing. Like you can't sell 30-round magazines anymore. You can't sell assault rifles. Trump banned the ownership of it. If you have it, you need to burn it. You are now a criminal because you have this thing. And
it's like a year later, too, or like a year and a half after the Las Vegas shooting.
It took him a while. Yeah, but
do you have any guns, Hutch?
No, I want one though. I do.
What are you looking at? This is something Kyle can help with greatly.
Just a little like I would want like a kind of like a powerful handgun, like not like a shotgun or anything like that.
Is it for home defense?
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know what the fuck is going to happen in like 10 years. So, yeah.
You want a shotgun? You want a shotgun?
Maybe, something like that. But Esme doesn't want a gun in the house, and so it's kind of hard to...
You should take her shooting and kind of get her acclimated to it and then move it towards that. Because people get way too intimidated by shooting ranges. Like, it's way more structured than you think. If somebody's goofing around with it, there's not a, hey, settle down atmosphere. It's a, you're out, you're gone, no.
Or they just embarrass the heck out of you and you feel like you're a misbehaving 7-year-old again. And
They should embarrass the hell out of you. Guns are no joke.
that's
I don't know if they would let
true.
me get a gun because I'm open about smoking pot. I'm pretty sure they if they
Oh, I
catch
don't know. That
in
might.
form or fashion, then
Yeah, that's the thing.
Oh,
That's
really?
a thing. Yeah. All right. Then
Yeah,
then
pretty sure
don't.
I can't.
That's what they did in Missouri. Like in Missouri, they just legalized medical marijuana, but it's absurd. Like if you get medical marijuana, you have to give up your Second Amendment rights. You can no longer own a gun at all. And so,
and they don't do that with alcohol.
exactly.
I don't understand. That doesn't make any sense.
What's more dangerous with a gun? You know, it's never like
Is it because,
pothead and
it's a
friend.
Schedule 1 substance still? That's got to
Yep.
be why, right?
It must be. It's
Yeah, you're agreeing on when you buy the gun, you're saying that you don't smoke pot when you fill out the form.
Do you have to check a box that says you've never taken any hallucinogens too?
I think it says I don't remember the verbiage, but it may just be illicit drugs.
Hypothetically, mushrooms, fentanyl, go to crystal meth. Are these all bad?
Toad
Kyle,
venom.
if you were recommending a handgun for someone in Hutch's situation, where his girlfriend
Depends on the
not a
price
fan.
range. Depends on the price range. Honestly, like take your favorite gun from a fucking movie. You like Lethal Weapon? Go get a Beretta M92, right? Like if you like, if you want something,
I want one
cheap,
of the like the 44 ones, like the big
like a big revolver. Get a
Yeah.
Ruger, get like a Ruger Super Blackhawk or Super Red Hawk. You can get a 44 Magnum for like a couple $300, $400, and it's a big, powerful, fucking heavy duty 44
I
Magnum.
thought it would be
handgun.
more expensive than a couple $100.
No, not if you get a Ruger, and it's a revolvers are a little bit cheaper.
Wait, but
anyway.
those aren't the Super Blackhawks, Super Red Hawks, whatever. Those are single action, right?
One's a single action, one's a double action, and it's escaping me right now. Which is which?
Okay.
I want to say
Single action Hutch means you have to pull back the hammer to fire it, and
Yeah.
double action you can pull the trigger. Sorry,
Yeah,
I didn't want to be
the option,
condescending. Wasn't
either
sure
way.
No,
if
it's
you
okay.
knew.
I would have made that assumption too. I don't
Yeah.
like shooting guns, but I recognize that the need for a gun might come into play later on.
yeah,
But
shotgun's great.
it's not gonna break my heart if I can't get one. I don't think they would let me get a gun. I just doubt if they.
They absolutely will. If you want to, but just kind of keep it on the down low or whatever. You just do everything legally as far as like the gun buying and everything goes. But keep your private life private or whatever. Especially since you're in California. But shotgun's the way to go for home defense anyway. And like Bill Burr says, it's got a nice spread. Spread. But also it's more controllable.
They have shotgun rounds for pistols too, don't they? Don't they have like
The 410, yeah.
They do, but you can do the math in your head. There's less shit going out the barrel than there is in a shotgun. You can get there's a couple of handguns that shoot.
But you could still
shot.
incapacitate someone even if you didn't want to kill
If
them.
you hit them. The issue is hitting them with a pistol, and in real life, hitting something with a pistol that's not moving is hard. Hitting something that's moving with a pistol is very hard. But shotguns are kind of made for that kind of thing. Like you could throw a baseball at me, and I think about it. I literally did a video where a pitching machine shot baseballs at me, and I shot them before they could hit me. It's made for
And
that.
you were able to shoot them as they were coming.
Oh yeah,
Kyle's very
wow.
good at this, though. That's probably Kyle's best gun discipline is the shotgun.
yeah. But I mean, a little practice and you get good at it too. But a guy down the hallway who's like methed out and coming at you with a machete. It'd be real rough if you shot 6 shots of your 44 Magnum, and it was like that scene in Pulp Fiction where they just he looks behind him and goes, "That was a fucking miracle." yeah, it was. Now let's chop this bitch up.
Dude, how
If
do
you
you guys
Googled-
how do you guys look at the political spectrum? Because that's a conversation that's been popping up these days. Because like some people see it as just straight left to right, and then some people see it like a horseshoe with socialism on one end and fascism on the other end, and then some people look at like a two-dimensional chart instead of a linear.
I almost
Chart.
feel
Like
like
the
it
vault.
doesn't make sense. I feel like there was a grab bag of topics. Like, all right, we're gonna take capital punishment and abortion and cigarettes for some reason and church on our team, and then your team is gonna get pot, pro-life and anti-guns and pro-gay. And it's like
Yeah.
these things don't even like go.
Wait a minute,
together.
I like
Choice or
several
whatever.
of those things.
Yeah,
Can I
and-
have the pro-gay, the weed, the guns, and the abortion? You can have the rest.
No, I'm sorry, Kyle. You have
Shit.
to choose blue or red. There's no
You should
purple
be able
here.
to be a la carte. Like I used to be way more team versus team, but like it, I think all of these fuckers don't give a shit. They don't care about you. Behind closed doors, they're like laughing. Like we were like, maybe not laughing together in that way, but they definitely put a front of, ooh, you guys on the right, ooh, you guys on the left. Like I'm way more now just anti-establishment. Like,
yeah, I'm with you there.
I don't like Trump has fucked up so many things. He hasn't followed any of his guarantees or promises.
He followed some of them.
That's not true.
For the most part, he's like he was supposed to be, oh, I'm anti-war, anti-this. Oh, we're gonna get out of these wars. We're gonna get out of this or that. And then he'll do his like blustering, we're getting out of Syria on Twitter. And then you'll see like 3 weeks, nothing happens. And then you'll like a little article pop up and it's like, well, actually, no, we're gonna keep people in Syria. And it's like he'll tweet what he's gonna do and then not do it at all.
I looked into that recently, and it's
promises.
better than I thought. Like I was with the same mindset. I'm like, dude, now he's leaving people in Syria. Let's look into this so I have it right. I think their numbers are going from like 6,000 to 600. Like this is a pretty significant improvement. If you
we're getting out of there, and the Russians are going to take over.
But there's still so many contractors over there. They'll be like, oh, there's only 40 U.S. soldiers, but we have a bunch of Blackwater style people still over there.
Well, I got no problem with that. I got no problem with like private individuals make like if you're in the military, you're ordered to go there, right? But if you're a private contractor, you're like, hey, X amount of dollars for X amount of time in X place. You want to go?
But they're still working on the U.S.'s behalf, so it's not really like we
with
left.
the U.S. It's a budget thing somewhat for me.
I don't care about the budget. I care about the men.
Yeah,
they're not nearly as accountable either. When you hire private contractors, and
Are you suggesting
like
Syrians are real people?
Yeah.
I like it when they're not as accountable. They can get their hands a little dirty.
We've gotten our hands dirty over there for like 20 years, and we've gotten nothing of it but losing
Dirty
trillions
hands.
of dollars, like 500,000 Iraqis dying, and a ton of Americans dying. Like, what have we gained? What tangible have we gained? Like, that's why on the left, like of the Democratic candidates, I like Tulsi Gabbard the most because she's
I like her too.
actually saying, we're getting out of there. We're gonna do, and she'll probably be exactly like everyone else who they talk big about getting out of there. Then they get taken in the back military industrial complex room, and then they come out like, actually, we need to be here.
And I bet she looks good in a swimsuit. That's an attractive young lady.
Which one?
Freaking Rand Paul, Tulsi Gabbard.
Tulsi Gabbard.
Rand Paul and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez both signed on to like a letter showing support for Donald Trump pulling out of Syria. Did you guys hear about that? Of the two politicians in D.C., freaking Rand Paul and AOC
I saw that
signing their names on the same piece of paper, which is pretty wild.
Good for them then, because
it's good.
We need
it's
more
good
people.
when they can find some common ground. Like there should be like a whole list of things that the far left and the far right can agree on.
Well,
like we're destabilizing huge parts of the world.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but like we entered into this era in the 20th century and in the fallout of the World War II, where all of a sudden to not go in and intervene in certain regions of the world would lead to even more lives lost, and maybe even more American lives lost if that war were to ever somehow spill over into the Western Hemisphere.
So you like a good preemptive occupation.
I mean, I was totally opposed to the Iraq war, but I'm saying like what's done is done. That region is now very much destabilized. And if the United States were to pull out all of their troops from all of these different regions,
and there'd be an oil shortage in solar and wind and nuclear.
It wouldn't even be an oil shortage. Like we get most of it from Canada.
We got a lot of it in the 90s from the Middle East, I think.
I'm pretty sure the top oil producer in the world is us.
That's true too, but it wasn't true in the 90s.
But it's a global economy, so
it's fungible. I follow what you're saying, but I'm just saying in the 90s, if Iraq and if these places didn't make oil, then it would be the 70s again.
Yeah, it'd be those crazy lung gas lines and all kinds of issues. But that's
it
probably
is insane that like everybody on the left, as far as politicians and all the right-wing politicians and all the left-wing ones, like that's the thing they come together for. It seems like every fucking time they'll be like, oh, no more abortion. No, we need abortion. We need abortion. Oh, well, I want more war. And they're like, no. Well, yeah, more war. More war. And it's just enough is enough. What have we gained? We haven't done anything but destabilize regions.
Let me ask you this, Taylor, because here's my thought process. I'd kind of like it if we capture some of these territories and make them our own. You know, like I remember I was watching Forrest Gump the other day. Hey, calm down. You know, I was watching Forrest. I'm being fucking serious, you bitch.
No shit.
I was watching Forrest Gump the other day, and Bubba was like, "Yeah, we're gonna take over all this. These gonna be real good shrimping waters. we're gonna shrimp it all out." And I was like, "Yeah, I bet some of those guys over there in Nam thought that like that was the inevitable conclusion of the Vietnam.
That they were going to
conflict
become shrimp boat captains.
Well, some of them will be shrimp boat captains, and some of them will
You got the teriyaki shrimp. You got the tempura shrimp. You got the lemon Asian ginger shrimp. That's about all the kind of shrimp.
But like, what if we had just captured a big chunk of Iraq and just made it state number 52,
We kinda
right?
did,
like Middle East Puerto Rico.
52. Which is the other state that you made 51?
DC
that
and
should
Puerto
have
Rico?
Well,
I
that's
figured it'd be one of those.
No. We should have had
Guam. That's another
Afghanistan. A big chunk of Afghanistan should have been state number 51. We're just glossing over that for now.
So, like, even though the Democrats in Congress signed off on that war, unfortunately, in was that 2003 when that war started? That came. The reason we're still in that region is not. I don't think you can give Democrats the equal amount of responsibility for that, because it was the Bush administration that pushed the intelligence agencies to give them data that they could then cherry pick from to justify going to war. And they sufficiently scared the shit out of enough Democrats in Congress who maybe were afraid of not getting reelected in a time where it felt like the country wanted
people that were too young to remember that time. Here, let me jump in. For people that were too young to remember that time, they mentioned 9/11 and Iraq in the same breath for years. And Condi Rice, it came on and said, we don't need the proof of weapons of mass destruction to be a mushroom cloud over New York City, or something very close to that. And they made it seem, they did a poll. Something like 80% of Fox News viewers believed that Iraq was behind 9/11 because they put them together.
It was 75% of the whole country thought that.
Well, it lasted longer in there. And they just rah that shit for ages. And looking back, I see it as kind of, I don't know if criminal's the word that's in my head. I guess not literally criminal, but it's
literally criminal.
Well, and so many of these people that did that, and at the time were like, the neoconservatives and the neoliberals who pushed it at the time, mostly neocons, who like Bill Kristol, who would be like, "Oh, we gotta go." These same fucking people still have jobs in 2019, and are the same people saying, well, we have to go to Syria. Well, we have to do this in the Middle East. Well, we need to invade Iran. And it's like, how is anybody taking these same people seriously?
John Bolton should be on that list of yours.
Yeah, John Bolton. You lied through your teeth about Iraq, caused an enormous amount of problems, and now we're supposed to take you seriously again? I just am so anti-intervention at this point. Like, just get us out. Stop. Stop with foreign aid. We got enough people who need shit here.
Well,
stop with all of our interventions.
The foreign aid, when he cut off the foreign aid last week, was it to the 3 Mexican countries?
That was hilarious.
Well, you've got North Mexico, then you have Honduras, Mexico, and Guatemala, Mexico.
Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua, I think were the.
That was a good guess.
Maybe El Salvador.
But Trump's own, his own officials working at either state or I can't remember which agency collects the data on this stuff, but they were, I think it's state, but they were touting the success of the foreign aid program in helping to curb the tide of these mass migrant movements that are coming up to the border. If you just strip away all this aid that we've been giving these countries, which is literally like buckets, like drops in the bucket of our budget, it's like nothing. It sounds like a lot of money, but it's really not. If you take away that aid, you're just going to make the situations that, or the circumstances that cause people to resort to marching for 2,000 miles to our border with Mexico in an attempt to apply for asylum. You just make those circumstances worse, and you're going to have more people coming over.
The president of the United States said that those countries were organizing the caravans and sending them to us, and that's why he cut the aid. Are you calling Donald J. Trump a liar?
Mexico did provide transit to people who showed up at their southern
Yeah, and there were third-party groups that were funding those things and providing the transport and organizing them and stuff, because you know,
I mean, but
you
Mexico
don't grassroots that sort of thing out of nowhere.
Mexico deals with way worse consequences of these caravans than the United States does, because
and they have much stricter laws about it.
Why do they have worse? I don't understand that, because it seems to me like they just passed through Mexico. What makes you say that it's
Oh, no, a
worse?
lot of
than
it-
Mexico?
Shit everywhere, Woody.
Many of them stay.
Do they leave their empty Cheetos bags right in Mexico as they head
Yeah.
through? Look at this litter. We need a Reddit movement where people pick up and show the trash bags.
It's a really terrible situation that's going on in these countries, and you know, these caravans have been happening for fucking 14 years, and a fraction of these people are allowed to enter the country when they're fleeing situations that any one of us in this call would probably want to flee as well. And so I think like the thing that gets lost in the conversation a lot of the times is the humanity behind these people. So, and the way that they convince you to turn on these or to have these sort of opinions about these people is you label them all as criminals and fucking vermin, and
Some are.
They're
You know,
just
well, not
weak,
for-
Hutch.
Sure,
If I was in
sure,
that
but-
situation, I'm so badass. I'd be king of the landfill. I'd plant the Woodworth flag right on top of there, declare all this shit as mine. And
But I think the
thrive
asylum
like-
thing, I think the way asylum works is they're supposed to be looking for, they're trying to escape something, right? But they're going through like 3 countries on the way to the U.S. being like, it's like
Yeah, you have to stop,
it's like
by international
Goldilocks.
law in the
It's like
first
Goldilocks in the
peaceful
porridge, right? They're like, it's a little too warm. This is a little too cool. Oh, Texas ahead? That's just right.
Well, part of
And-
the reason why they march isn't because they think they're going to get into the country. It's actually like a part of it's to send a political message to the world, because the United States played.
They have a lot of time and money on their hands if they can uproot their lives and drag their family 2,000 miles to make a political statement.
I don't think it's
That's actually a really low
very
budget
logical
thing to do.
say that these people have a lot of money to spend on this.
Exactly, they don't. I don't think they're making a political statement. I think they're literally trying to find somewhere to
Well,
go.
no, they
Yeah, they're
definitely
trying to
are.
get into the U.S.
Well,
like-
many of them are, but like one of the larger purposes of these caravans is almost a form of protest. And they'll even the people that organize these things and have been again for like the last 14 years, they'll say the same thing. They'll say like,
Oh, yeah.
part of the reason why they're doing this is because the United States played such an integral role in destabilizing these countries like Guatemala and El Salvador, especially during like the 80s under Reagan. And so this is what you would call blowback from our previous mistakes. And
Yeah,
so-
the groups certainly have that motivation. But if you think about it, they're absolutely using these individuals, these poor families and such, to make their political statement by sending them 2,000 miles across a really rough
Who's
area.
they?
The
I think it's-
globalists.
No, Kyle said they are making a political statement by sending.
Oh yeah, those
who's they?
third-party groups that organize these.
But who are they?
These caravans.
They're they're basically activists in their home countries that
Yeah.
sort of get these caravans going, and part of the reason why they do it is to raise awareness of the circumstances that these people face and the United States' role in that. So yeah,
Well, I don't think anybody can make the argument that the U.S. hasn't gone around. I mean, I think it's interesting that you said like we're destabilizing the Middle East over there with our troops, and that actually is kind of helping stem the tide of migrants. But that same behavior in South America is causing like the tide.
well, there's way more migrants coming in from South America because
Well, definitely because there's a physical area there. But like,
Well,
even
I didn't
so,
say to
like,
to stop the tide of migrants from the Middle East. I don't think I said that, did I? I didn't.
maybe I misheard. I thought you were saying that it would help, that us having troops there still is more helpful than it is harmful in some way.
But what we did in South America was criminal in the 80s. You know,
true.
destabilizing democratically elected governments. You know, assassinations,
All over the place, too.
all sort of coups, all sort of black ops.
They're trying to get us to do it in Venezuela right fucking now.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane.
But that's all part of the whole like they're trying to make socialism the boogeyman, and so they turn Maduro into the their big boogeyman villain. And by all accounts, he's not a great guy, not a good leader, and it's doing a lot of real harm to the country. But I think a lot of the rhetoric, the escalated rhetoric around maybe even proposing military intervention, comes from the fact that they just want to position themselves, and I mean like the Republican Party right now is sort of like. It's like they're the antithesis to the boogeyman of socialism, and so they just use him as a
I think that we killed Hugo Chavez, the former president of Venezuela. I think we took him out. He got cancer and died in like 3 months or something like that. How does it happen to a head of state?
Let's see. What kind of cancer did he have?
I don't recall exactly.
So if
what
it was like
kind.
pancreatic, that's totally.
Was this PK? We were just talking about how some cancers were fast.
Yeah, but if they kill quickly, but they do, but they have to form out of something. This is a head of state. If Donald Trump were getting cancer, we'd know it at like stage 0.5 because he's getting those physicals frequently, and someone's looking after our president. I'm sure they do the same thing in Venezuela.
Trump is the healthiest president
Yeah,
we've
they'll
ever
fudge the
had.
numbers, but they won't be like
Trump's
no,
not getting
he doesn't
cancer, Kyle.
They're not going to lie and be like, "No, Mr. Trump, you don't have cancer. You're strong as a bull." Like they're going to be like,
totally would.
"No, they wouldn't do that."
You tested positive for everything. That's what his last doctor said.
It's one of the craziest things about the migrant caravan situation is that if we would have let every single person from every single one of these caravans over the last couple decades into the country, they would still only represent like 0.0001% of the population, and it's still being branded as an invasion.
I'd have to
And
press
it's just,
1 to speak in Nicaraguan, and I won't stand for that.
Nope. No, thank you. No, thank you. I'm in a hurry when I call the bank. God damn it! I don't need those extra options.
Yeah, they don't even. They never even said what kind of cancer he had.
Yo quiero Taco Bell. Get that little dog out of here too.
Why do Americans get pissed off at the idea of speaking a different language? Like, why would you discourage?
Don't you make me learn things? Hush.
Because traditionally America has been a melting pot where you come here and you assimilate to our thing. You came as an Italian, but now you're an American. You came as an Irishman, but now you're an American. And assimilate. Assimilation is a big part of American culture. Other countries say that America doesn't have a culture, but we absolutely do. But one of the things is speaking
a lot of different cultures, though. I mean, it's like
Dude,
absolutely.
I agree with Kyle so much on. Like, I'm goofing a lot in the show, but the idea that we're a melting pot rather than a salad bowl, I think, is important and it's good. And that's not to say that you need to lose your culture. It's just to say that you need to blend it in. I'm more than happy to bring your food. Your food is always good. Bring your culture, bring some morality. I don't know, whatever it is you bring your religions. I'm open to all these ideas, but melt it in. When you stay and become your salad bowl and every part is different, that's what tears countries apart. When countries are fundamentally different, left and right, when countries are fundamentally different, English and Spanish, when companies are fundamentally different, I don't know, Catholic and Muslim, then over time, they get angrier and angrier and they become more divided and they're not the same people and they're not the
and
same
more violent.
culture.
Look at Brazil.
And So I really, really feel strongly about this idea that we're a melting pot. And this might sound overbearing, but it wouldn't be crazy to me to be like, you know what? Like, we don't want a Chinatown here. So if you want to come in from China, these are the 700 places you can choose from because they have a light Chinese representation today. You can't move straight to a place with a dense Chinese representation. Like that sounds overbearing, but it prevents salad bowls.
I'm trying to think of what they call it in Minnesota. They have that
Dearborn, Deer Park.
They call it Little Somalia. Because
they just like
Little Mogadishu, because there's so many Somalians there. And my friend who lives up there is like, he's like, oh, we're terrified. Like
these people
crime there is insane.
They're more likely to have a master's degree. They're more likely to be small business owners. So it's not like these people are coming.
Thank you, Mr. Trump.
Little Mogadishu is in Minneapolis. I'm just Googling. It's new to me.
Yeah, there's little pockets of the Midwest where there's a heavy
population
population of Somali immigrants, but these people are not coming in and ruining the culture. They're coming in and contributing to the economy and getting good educations and literally creating jobs. So
wasn't Osama bin Laden educated over here?
I think he was like a CIA guy. Like the CIA had him doing shit.
I don't know about all that. I think we should switch gears.
It's like a known thing.
I know that he was part of the Mujahideen or whatever, and that we were giving them rockets to take down Russian.
I don't think we educated him here in the States, though. I don't think
Soviet choppers and stuff like that. I know he's been over here, but yeah, maybe we should switch gears from the heavily biased political talk to maybe something more silly. Bye.